Okay, so this is something pretty cool. There's a new easy entry functionality for business partners. And what that means is you can set up some minimal data and you can very quickly create a business partner out of it based on defaults. So you see here I've set up several defaults configurations. So I have one that's a external customer and supplier. I mean, you can do Flextronics internal with different terms and things like that. But what I set this one up as business partner role is customer and supplier. Okay, so what that means is that you have the customer roles to the left and you have the supplier roles to the right. So this could be, there's some cases, I mean, I know in Morgan Hill they had Applied Materials, for example, big customer, but I think in certain cases they actually bought from them as well. So they might want to have both roles, both sets of roles. And of course, all your Flextronics internal business partners will be probably customers and suppliers because you might want to do POs and sales orders back and forth. Okay, so let me just show you how this works. You set it up with the default language and currency here. Now this is something new. There's a flag on the business partner. When you set it up new, you can click this button that says to be verified. So when you go into the business partner master, I'll show you in a minute, there's actually a filter that you can put on, a standard filter that says give me all the ones that still need to be verified. Okay, so that means when you create a new one, you want it to be verified. You want somebody to go through all the roles and make sure that they're all right. And then when you get finished, somebody will be responsible for unchecking this flag, and then they no longer come up. So that means that the business partner is fully entered. All right, so customer, these are the customer roles or the customer things that you can change. Hello, is it there? Ah, there we go. All right, so this is good for finance here. We can set currencies, exchange rate types, invoicing methods, and so on, credit ratings. And you notice credit rating is a mandatory field. So you have to put that in, payment terms, obviously, and the customer group. Okay, so these are preset. So you can have, actually you can have ones for different terms if you want, but most likely is if it's a customer, we want net 30 terms. So, you know, it's a default setting. Same thing on the supplier side. We can change the payment terms and we put in the supplier group. Now, this is basic data, right? You still want to go in and change things, but it gives you a very nice, easy way of creating the business partner initially. So I won't go through these other two because they're the same. It's just that, you know, like for this supplier here, I created one that has net 60 terms. So if you go in there, you know, it's going to have just supplier role, not customer. See, it's just a supplier. So here I have net 60. So you could set up several of these ones if you want to for different terms, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to go into it afterwards. It just means it's a nice, quick, easy way of creating a business partner. All right, so I'll show you how this works. This is the easy entry business partner screen for session. Okay, so really all you have to do here, you put some basic information in here. So let's say Dan's coffee store. I always wanted a coffee store. It's going to be a supplier. So let's see. So I want number 3 here. That was supplier. Okay, so you see when I tabbed here, it only has, it says it's a supplier. Now this is actually a separate field in LN. It's called business partner role. So based on what roles you set up, it will actually tell you it's a supplier or a customer, even though it's a business partner, right? It will tell you whether it's a supplier, a customer, or both. And you'll see only the roles that you want here because it's a supplier. I only have these roles. Okay, so this address code is a first free number. So if I zoom on this, I can see my various first free numbers. So let's say I wanted to create another, well, it's internal BP address. So I'll say that. Okay, I'm just going to come down here and say country is US, zip code is 182, I think. Yeah. So I preset up the zip code from my zip code, pops in Virginia and the city, and then I just have to give it a street, 111 Donut Drive. Okay. Yeah, I can put in the tax number here. So there's a lot of new fields. So you can put in like your tax ID number. I think in the U.S., I mean in the U.S. anyway, it's called a let's see, what is it called? A tax ID number. I'll think of the name in a minute. But in European, I think there's a, Joanne, you have a European tax ID, right? EU?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you probably put that in here, I would think.
Correct.
So I'm going to say EU 123. Okay, so here you can put in, you can actually have it automatically generate an address and a contact all in one step. So I'm going to put in full name here. So it's actually going to create all of these things all at once by just clicking this button right here. All right, so it's created, you see here, it's created this business partner. Oh, you know what? I created it with a CU. That's unfortunate. Oh, well. I created a supplier that starts with CU, but no big deal. You get the idea. Okay, so if I go here and I go back to business partners, this is my business partner screen. Okay, and you see all the fields here, and you see, like I was saying before, you have this role as a separate field, so that when I export this to Excel, that will be you know, a separate field, and would also, because there's options here, customer, and supplier, it will actually have a little drop-down list in there, an enumerated list. Okay, and you can see that there's a bunch of other fields here that weren't here before. So you have website, you have commercial ID. I think there's even stuff like Twitter and, you know, social media, social media stuff, Skype and everything. So they added a whole bunch of new fields here. And also who created it, who modified it last modification date. So you can see here, I'm going to go just personalize the grid here for a second. You can see all the different fields. And like I said, you know, there's a ton of new fields. Like when you go here to your grid, they've added a whole bunch of new fields. So it's basically like every field that's in the table is here. So it's very, very easy to get all this stuff out into Excel to be able to get lists. Before, I think in Bond 5 is, you know, you had to tell somebody you wanted to dump off a table and so on. You wanted these records and all that. Now you just filter the list and include the fields you want in the order you want, and you hit the button.